Every woman deserves to feel vibrant, safe, loved, and feel her power. The Woman's Vibrancy Code podcast is here for a potent use of your time. We will cover energy, hormones, and libido with episodes that also dive into entrepreneurship, money mindset, feminine power, and much, much more. Introducing Maraya Brown, Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert, midwife, mom, and entrepreneur.
All right, welcome back to the Women's Vibrancy Code podcast. This is the second part with Petia Kolibova. And interestingly enough, if you listen to the first interview with her, she and I were sharing our stories around miscarriage, and she was at the beginning of the midst of her journey. And then we recorded a second interview that same day around human design and the work that she does out in the world. And ironically, something got messed up. Well, we don't exactly know, but that interview got deleted. It's disappeared. Nobody knows where it is. So Petia had gifted me a human design session. And so what I decided is I just trust that it's always divine and things happen for a reason. And so instead, I am going to share publicly what that human design session was. And hopefully you can listen in and learn a little bit about human design, get a feel for Petia's work, and also learn a little bit more about me in the interim. And fascinatingly enough, I do mention in this interview you're about to listen to that after the first one where I was talking about the miscarriage, I did offer myself up, and she did end up calling me and invited me to have the opportunity to midwife her through her miscarriage, even though it was virtual on the phone. It was spectacular. And since then, we've continued to build in our relationship, and it's spectacular and lovely. And I have big love and respect. So Petia, if you're listening to this, big love for you. Okay, for those of you listening, let me read her bio. So Petia Kolibova is an alignment women's coach who guides women to intuitively connect with their inner vision so they can experience personal and professional magnetism and become unapologetically abundant. Her mission is to empower visionaries who are on the path to embody their fullest self-expression, to soulfully expand into a quantum leap in all dimensions of their lives. Petia gives immense clarity, exact steps to unlock women's divine feminine and abundant mindset. Through subconscious work as a certified breathwork facilitator, Reiki, NLP, and human design practitioner, she leads her 6- and 7-figure clients to their next level in life and business. If she's not interviewing fellow experts on her podcast, Unapologetically Abundant, which I have been interviewed on, so definitely check out Unapologetically Abundant podcast. And if you want to listen to the time when she interviewed me, you're welcome to, especially if you're in this space and you're a podcast listener. So if she's not interviewing people for the podcast, she's traveling the world with her husband, hosting retreats or reading. You will find her in nature, disconnecting from the world, connecting even deeper to herself. So listen in. This is a little snapshot into the work that she does, kind of a mixture of a personal human design reading that she did for me as a projector, and I got to learn more about that. But she does talk a bit. She and I were sharing our human design miscarriage, and she was at the beginning of the midst of her journey. And then we recorded a second interview that same day around human design and the work that she does out in the world. Here we go. And ironically, something got messed up. Well, we don't exactly know, but that interview got deleted. It's disappeared. Nobody knows where it is. So Petia had gifted me a human design session. And so what I decided is I just trust that it's always divine and things happen for a reason. And so instead, I am going to share publicly what that human design session was. And hopefully you can listen in and learn a little bit about human design, get a feel for Petia's work, and also learn a little bit more about me in the interim. And fascinatingly enough, I do mention in this interview you're about to listen to that after the first one where I was talking about the miscarriage, I did offer myself up, and she did end up calling me and invited me to have the opportunity to midwife her through her miscarriage, even though it was virtual on the phone. It was spectacular. And since then, we've continued to build in our relationship, and it's spectacular and lovely. And I have big love and respect. So Petia, if you're listening to this, big love for you. Okay, for those of you listening, let me read her bio. So Petia Kolibova is an alignment women's coach who guides women to intuitively connect with their inner vision so they can experience personal and professional magnetism and become unapologetically abundant. Her mission is to empower visionaries who are on the path to embody their fullest self-expression, to soulfully expand into a quantum leap in all dimensions of their lives. Petia gives immense clarity, exact steps to unlock women's divine feminine and abundant mindset. Through subconscious work as a certified breathwork facilitator, Reiki, NLP, and human design practitioner, she leads her 6- and 7-figure clients to their next level in life and business. If she's not interviewing fellow experts on her podcast, Unapologetically Abundant, which I have been interviewed on, so definitely check out Unapologetically Abundant podcast. And if you want to listen to the time when she interviewed me, you're welcome to, especially if you're in this space and you're a podcast listener. So if she's not interviewing people for the podcast, she's traveling the world with her husband, hosting retreats or reading. You will find her in nature, disconnecting from the world, connecting even deeper to herself. So listen in. This is a little snapshot into the work that she does, kind of a mixture of a personal human design reading that she did for me as a projector, and I got to learn more about that. But she does talk a bit about the other human design types, and I'll put all of her contact information in the show notes, of course. So definitely reach out to her if you're leaning in and longing for more. And with that, here we go. And this is good because this is, it's my chance to drop in and receive.
Yeah. And I feel like women sometimes struggle with that, especially when I look at you and you're such a leader and such a giver and supporter of others, like your family, your friends, and, women in your circle or in your business. So just being able to be present and receive and see what lands. And it's so fascinating, human design, like whether you ever heard about it, and I know we talked about it before, but whether you heard about it or not, I feel like when I do these readings, women feel like coming home. Mm-hmm. There is these truths that they already knew, but it's just this deep reminder oh, okay, this is me. This is how I see the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. And very often there is so much conditioning from our environment and our world of how we should be behaving, or what does it look like to be a good mother, good lover, good wife, good friend, good, boss or entrepreneur. And there is what I love about human design. It's really art of differentiation. Each and every single one of us has very completely unique blueprint who we came here to be. And it's always growing, always unfolding. I'm studying human design almost 4 years now. And I feel like complete beginner, and I'm a type of person who dives deep. I had mentors and courses and books, and I feel like it's a beautiful reminder to reconnect to your body, because we are so often in our minds that we disconnect. And I said it before we start recording, when something happens, we dissociate from our bodies, whether it's, in the past trauma or whether it's life gets busy, we disassociate. And human design always reminds us, come back to your body, start trusting your instincts, your intuition. Where is this guiding you? And for those who have no idea about human design, I mean, you can always go and ask Uncle Google. I'm like, that's like a quick fix, right? For most of our things in nowadays age. But human design, it's a beautiful, I feel like art, because it blends the ancient wisdom of astrology and Ching and Kabbalah and Vedics, energy points, but also it brings in a quantum physics. So it's not just like a woo-woo things. There is a quantum physics that are happening there too. And it really blends the spiritual and strategic together. And it's very life-giving. It's very life-giving to see who you came here to be, because there are 5 different designs. And there is a manifestor, manifesting generator, projector, which is you, Maraya, and then reflector. So the most of the population is manifesting generator and generator. Those two are very similar, but manifesting generator, it's like a baby of manifestor and a generator, because it kind of has a little bit of both. And that is around 70% of our population. And then, so the generator and manifesting generators are really the people that have this sacral energy, meaning they have the energy of life. They can create their own energy. And it's like they have an engine inside of them. So you can feel when you're around generator. Hello, here, Petia, generator. My spiritual wife, she's also projector 1-3 as you. And she's like, oh, when I'm around you, I can go and go and go and go and go. And then she will crash, she's alone. But you as a projector, you can receive the energy of others. Sometimes you can have like spurts of energy that it's more than generator, but it's a short period of time. We have sustainable life force energy. So projectors are a little bit over 20% of the population. And then we have manifestor, who it's only around 8-9% of the population. And then the most rare, it's a reflector, because that's only 1% of our population.
Wow. And it's so ironic because it's based on the location and time of birth.
Yes. So it's the date, the time, and the place of birth. So like I said, like you can go on Google and type in free chart. I like using Jovian chart. That's the one that I used when we first started talking about it, because it will tell you like when you look at human design, it can be really like overwhelming, because it's like a foreign language, right? You look at it and it's like if you're trying to like read physics, you look at it and it makes no sense, right? At first. Because when you get your chart, it looks like a body graph with different centers, different lines, different 64 numbers, because there are gates and channels and centers. And it can be overwhelming. And I always say the most important thing really is for you to know what is your like type, what is your design, those 5 that I just mentioned. And then what is your authority? Like where is your authority coming from? Because we have all like different authorities, and learning your strategy. So each type has a different strategy, and the strategy is how to make things happen, in your life. So for example, for generator and manifesting generator, it's to respond. So we are here to respond to things. So we are here to say yes and no. If you want to know something about me, if you want to honor me and make my life easier, you don't ask me open-ended questions. You ask me yes and no questions. So for example, if my husband comes home and says, honey, what do you want to do tonight? I'm like, I don't know, right? But if he say, hey, babe, do you want to like stay home and watch a movie? I'm like, yeah, it's like going back to the primal, As a little kid, sometimes we get like punished, like, hey, speak full sentences, like express yourself fully, right? Like speak right. But it's like allowing ourselves to go back into that primal, natural, So if you ask me, hey, do you want to have a pizza tonight? I'm like, it's like, no, I don't, right? Do you want to go out? Do you want to stay home? So it's really like honoring the design. It's like when you understand yourself and others, others can feel really seen and really understood. And I know there's a lot of personality tests like Enneagram. Try it a couple times. It doesn't resonate with me personally, just because like I change my answer every time, depending on how am I feeling, how did I sleep. I'm trying to be smart ass because I'm like, oh, if I say this, then I will get this result. Like this makes sense, right? So with human design, you cannot like change it or fake it, right? You just get
it's like a horoscope. I'm a Gemini and I don't know a whole lot about the zodiac astrology, but when I learn about a Gemini, I'm like, oh my God, that's totally me.
My husband, my spiritual wife are 1-3 profile like you. We will get to it later, but they're also Geminis.
Wow.
I'm curious why I keep attracting all the Geminis.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like there's the type, which is your human design, and then your authority and your strategy.
Yes. So let's finish with the strategy and then we get to the authority. So your design, your strategy, and then your authority. If you know these three things, and you know, it doesn't have to be like, you know, in like first this, later this, like first you get to know your design, but this strategy, like I was mentioning for manifesting generator and generator, it's to respond. We are here to respond to life. We are here to respond to the things that light us up. And then we are magnetic. Then when we say yes to the things that really light us up, we're magnetic and we are giving energy to others around us. Then projector as yourself, Maraya, projectors gets to be invited, not to initiate things, not to respond to the things, but to be invited, recognized and invited. Like your strategy is to be invited, but you really have to be recognized. You get to be working with people who value, recognize you. And yeah, it would be nice for all of us to be recognized, right? But for you, it's like an air, you know, for you, when you are recognized, when you are celebrated, you come to life, you're blooming, you are feeling like, yeah, my life has a purpose. And then to bigger things, you get to be invited, you know, no initiation, no like, let me go and start this and do this, you know, because
it's so ironic though, because yes, I feel like my inner child dances when I'm invited to things or when I feel recognized. And it often feels like it rarely happens. And most of my life, I've been in scenarios where I'm always the one initiating the thing. I feel like I'm always the one inviting. I'm the leader in business. I'm the one that throws the parties. I'm the one that invites people over. And then when I first heard projector, I went, really? I don't know if that fits. But then I go, well, have I just been existing in misalignment? Because when I am invited to something, or if I'm not invited to something, I feel crushed. Like it is one of my biggest inner child, like painful patterns is moments of feeling not included or not invited. It is like, it hurts my heart. I had a moment this morning with my son dropping him off at school at the first time and seeing the pattern kind of interplay with him and a couple of his best friends. And my inner child stuff came out and it just like, I wanted to cry. It hurts me so deep.
Because that's natural for you, Maraya. You know, we learn to exist in the world based on the expectations and conditioning we are seeing around us. Also, who are your parents? Who is your husband? Who are your kids? Like, you are going to be influenced by the people around you, you know, like, for example, like my husband, you know, Christopher, he's a manifesting generator. So I get influenced by his energy of so his authority is emotional. And again, we'll get to it a little bit later, you know, but I can feel his waves. He has waves when he's up in the world and he's loving it. And then he's down and he doesn't want to be adulting. And it feels almost like a depression, you know. I feel that. I'm influenced by that. I'm influenced by his energy of doing 20 things at the same time. I'm around him and I try to multitask and everything is falling from my hands. I'm not meant to be multitasking. For him, it comes easily and naturally. So of course I can initiate, but it's not going to be the same result as when manifestor initiates, because they're born to be initiating. When you're invited, you will be in the right places with the right people, with the right opportunities, and it will feel easy. It will feel natural. It will feel like, wow, this was meant to be. And you will feel more like fulfilled in life.
It's amazing. I can think of so few times in my life that I've felt invited.
Because have you waited?
I don't know. Maybe not.
That's the funny part. Like, as a projector, you're meant to like be invited. So you're waiting for the invitation. And in the meantime, you're doing things that, bring you joy. You are studying or learning, because your profile 1-3, we'll get to it a little bit later too. It's like, you want to be like, you want to have the foundation, you want to understand, you want to research. It's the investigator. It's the one who wants to feel safe, So
Totally. I can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I went to Yale for my master's. Like, it's not just becoming a midwife. I have to go to the best school in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's like that's your nature, that's your nature. So your nature is being projector, being invited, being recognized, also not having like sustainable energy of like, go, 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 go. Because if you don't rest, if you don't give yourself that space to recharge, you're going to be bitter. That's why that you're not aligned. As a projector, you're bitter. If you're not aligned, there is a sense of bitterness.
I'm really lucky that I just think about my days. In our household, I'm so lucky that my husband is home and he does the mornings with the kids. So my mornings, like if I had it all my way, I wouldn't start until 10, 11, even 12 o'clock in the day, because I rest and I recharge. And I don't like to exercise in the morning. I don't like to interact with people. Like, that's my time to create and be still and meditate and do my sauna. And, if I have it all my way, and then I can go. But I think the other piece is, when I think about rest and go, I also, tell me if this is true, I think about extroverted times and introverted times.
Mm-hmm.
So especially as I've gotten older, I'm both. So I can exist and really shine in an extroverted, around people, serving. But if I require time to be back in an introverted space and to kind of go into my cave and renew my own stores of energy. And so I see that are these waves of extrovert and introvert, is that the same as go and rest in your world?
You mean in human design? No, that wouldn't be like the same thing. It's just for projectors. They just get to have a little bit more rest, like a little bit more like time for themselves, and also be like outside of people's auras, because you can feel people's energy, because projector is the guide. Like, you can feel and see people's energy. You're the one who is meant to tell other people what to do. What happens is you have to be invited to tell them what to do, because the thing is that for you, it can be a little bit challenging. Like, let's say, for example, I want to get pregnant, right? And I am drinking a bottle of wine every day, and I'm smoking cigarettes, and I am, I don't know, like doing x-rays every weekend just for fun, right? Because I'm painting bones, whatever. And you look at me and you're like, Petia, are you crazy? You cannot be drinking alcohol every day. You cannot be smoking. Like, if you want to like have a healthy baby. And I'm like, who do you think you are? Because I didn't come to you and recognize you. And you can see it clearly. And I'm giving you complete extremes, right? Like, there are things we don't know that we don't know, right? Like, there's things that we wouldn't know. And you're like, hey, Petia, like, it's better not to do this type of exercise, or it's better not to travel every weekend. Like, oh, I didn't know, right? Mm-hmm. But if I don't ask you, if I don't invite you, like, hey, Maraya, like, I would love to know, like, what is the best way to get pregnant? Or, like, then you are invited, then you are recognized, then you are like, I'm seeing you, I'm recognizing you, and then I will be able to receive your advice. If you go and just tell people what to do, most likely it's not going to land that deeply. So even when you're working with your clients, they recognize you because they're paying you. They want to be in your presence. They're valuing your expertise. If you would go on the street and you see a pregnant lady there, drinking from a bottle of wine and smoking cigarettes, and you tell her something, well, most likely it won't land.
Yeah, no, I relate to this a lot because I do feel, and my intuition is strong, and I often have, like, I can consider them intuitive hits. Some people would say, like, do you have psychic tendencies? But I have a knowing and I feel it in my body. But then often I'll just be passing someone on the street, or it'll be a friend, and I won't say anything unless there's an invitation. So are you suggesting that someone who's a different human design, such as a generator, that they could potentially just tell someone how it is and they would be received differently as well? Like, for me to be received, because my human design is projector, it's almost that much more important that I have to be invited in order for whatever gift I have to offer to. Okay, fascinating.
Yes, each design is different. So, for example, for me, I'm not meant to initiate and come to someone and tell them what to do. I'm meant to be responding, so for me, it's like responding. But with projectors, it's like with people. With me, I can respond to my environment. I can, so it's a little bit different. But for example, for manifestors, their strategy is to inform. They're initiating things. They are the ones who can just go and tell us it is. It doesn't mean that they're going to be like, like received like wholeheartedly, because nobody wants to be told what to do. However, manifestor is the only design who is here to just inform. So manifestor, you're not meant to be asking them questions. You're meant to inform them. They're not meant to, because they don't like to be told what to do. They're very unique because they're very fast. Like, projectors are more like, can be, it's not like you're slow, but comparing to manifestor or manifesting generator, you take your time because you are like observing around. You're looking at the energy, you're feeling into the energy. Manifestor just goes. They don't look back. So they get to learn to inform those around that will be impacted by their decision. It's not like, I gotta like tell the stranger, on the street, like, hey, I just, I'm moving out from home, or I'm, moving houses. It doesn't matter. Only informing the people that will be impacted by their decision. But with you, when you learn to be invited, everything like will be having a different dimension and depth. It's going to be like so much better.
Yeah. I mean, I even think about a collaboration. Like, okay, I'm planning these retreats, right? And they're spectacular. But when I get quiet, I love doing them. But then if I get quiet and I think about when I allow myself to dream of individuals that would invite me to co-facilitate their retreat, oh my gosh, that just feels so soothing. And yet I still have the tendency that I like to be in charge, which does not seem like what I'm hearing. So the projector,
it's a guide. So it's not like, let me go and let me do it all and just like run with it. Manifestors are like a fast train just running by themselves. Projector, it's the one who is guiding. Projector is the one who is like consultant or guide, or, and most likely
the midwife. It's the midwife, because my job is to simply hold the container.
Yeah. Yeah. And
like trust that all the pieces are moving and they're divine and they're happening for a reason.
You see?
Yeah.
You are in a perfect position, you are doing what you are meant to be doing. And it's just allowing yourself to be invited, because again, it's going to be so much richer for you, being invited for the podcast, being invited for the conversation. I invited you to have this conversation, because I value, I respect you. I'm like, I would love to do this with you, So, and when you were talking about your intuition, like looking at your authority, you do have instinctive intuition. So your intuition, it's in your spleen. It's in the moment. And it's like gentle whispering. And it seems to me that you learn to listen to that.
Yeah.
So
totally.
You have a very strong intuition, and you are very purposeful, because your identity center is defined, meaning you're not looking outside of yourself for love and direction. People, when they're around you, they feel like you give them the direction, you give them the love,
Yeah.
And
that's fascinating, because it's so spot on. And I've always thought it must be because of my childhood, because I grew up, my parents divorced before I was born, and my father's been married 4 times and my mother's been married 3. So there was a lot of change constantly going on around me, and there was love, but there was also a good amount of instability and the adults just trying to figure it out on their own. And so I have memories as early as age 4 where the impression that I got was, if it's going to get done, I do it on my own.
Yeah.
Like there's not really going to be someone that's going to be there to do it for me. And I always made the assumption that my resiliency has come in, I'm very self-reliant.
Yeah. And it's like you've been designed this way. So it's not because of your childhood is who you are. You were already designed this way. Like when you came to this world, you already had the sense of purpose and directionality, even before age 4, when you were born, the moment you were born, you already had the sense of directionality. And you also have a defined throat, which means that you are speaking, you have a very strong voice that is very a certain way, For example, for me, I have an open throat. So that means that I can be changing the way I'm speaking, and it's easier for me to learn languages, and it's just changingness, it's openness. For you, there is a certain way of expressing yourself, and also the throat chakra, our throat center, it's the manifestation center, it's how all of our centers are trying to come into our throats. That also means that when you're around people, if they don't have it defined like me, they might want to speak too much. They want to express themselves through you, because now you're completing them. So what can sometimes happen is that you are feeling unheard because people around you cannot shut up. Friends call you and she's 20 minutes in talking about her kids and her husband and work and whatever. And, and you're sitting there and I'm happy to receive you, but you didn't ask, how am I? How is my life? So sometimes that means that you get to create a strong boundaries around you, to create that space so people don't try to just express themselves through you.
Because what I'm hearing is what I wrote down was a defined throat. So it's a strong voice. My words are generally pretty laser sharp and succinct. And I've always been a communicator. I always thought that's because I was a Gemini. And so sometimes, yes, around others that don't get to the point.
Yep.
I think sometimes we misunderstand one another.
Yes, because they're trying to express themselves through you, through your, center. Because when you come around them, you activate them. For example, you also have, so there are 9 centers in our human design, and you have 4 of them defined, 5 are open. When something is defined, it's set. It's what do you have constant access to? And then the open center are our classrooms. That's a place that we can be conditioned. That's the place that we're amplifying other people's energy. but we don't have constant access to that energy, so there's openness. And you have also, and I have it too, and only 35% of the population have it. No, 25, because 75 doesn't. Let's do the math, right? It's right in the morning. So only 25%, has a defined, and that's a defined heart or ego, heart and ego. You have it defined. So when people are around you, they feel unstoppable. Think Tony Robbins. He has a define. I have a define. When people are around us, they feel like, I can do this. I can go there. I can achieve anything I really want, because you evoke this in them, that like, I can. It's the will. Will. You have the will. So you will start and you will finish something. A lot of people don't have that. So a lot of people don't. And then of course we could go very much deeper into a channels, because that's what make us so unique, But just looking at your, like we mentioned it, your energy type, looking at your authority, looking at your strategy. When you learn to live by those three, everything else will become easier.
So, okay. So there's human design type, strategy type, authority type, and energy type. I think I missed that. So there is it's an energy type, and there is authority and strategy. So there's so much. There's no way we're going to get to
No, listen, we could be sitting here for 10 hours and we'll be still scratching surface. I told you, I'm studying this for 40 years. But really, the most important thing, it's really understanding and allowing yourself to land with your design, to allow it. Because when you have the first reading, it just activates something in you, and it's like planting the seed. It will start sprouting in you, and you will be receptive to see things differently. Yeah. So just start noticing, the invitations, your type and everything. And am I being invited? Am I initiating? Am I, forcing things into the happening, or am I giving myself space? Because like I mentioned, my spiritual wife, she's a projector, profile 1-3 as you, because there is 6 profiles. And, I asked her a couple of days ago, we were talking something about relationships, and I'm like, why don't you ask this person? And she was like, well, it will be initiating and this person wouldn't hear me. So I just get to wait for them, because if I initiate one, they won't hear me. And then there can be frustration and resentment because it wasn't their invitation. And of course it gets to be big things, but
it's hard to be patient sometimes. I want things to go. There's a lot to do in this world. I'm like, come on, people, let's go.
You see, it's the patient part,
Fascinating.
It is. It really is. And we can also really briefly look at the profiles, because there are 6 profiles, 1 to 6, and there is you get a blend of 2, because one it's conscious and one it's unconscious. The conscious, it's what do you know? It's the number that you get when you are born, the day you're born. The unconscious, it's your soul, spirit, whatever you believe, right? The unconscious that comes into the body, into the baby, 88 days before the baby is born. So they say that that's when the soul enters the body, the unconscious enters the body. And that's unconscious, and that's how other people see you, versus the conscious, it's how do you see yourself? So how do you see yourself? And this is what you know about yourself. That's the one. The one is the investigator. The one is who is feeling safe in knowing things and wanting to if I ask you something, I know you're not going to answer if you really didn't research it. And if you don't know, I know whatever I ask you, it's that. You research that, you study that, your stuff. The 3, it's, they call it sometimes the martyr or explorer, because the 3rd is the one who came here into this world to experiment and experience things. So you're here for us, trying what is working and what is not working. So your life will be trial and error to see what is working and what is not working. So you're the kind of person who, and this is unconscious, this is how other people see you. Like, she's experimenting, exploring, she's like more like adventurous, my husband, it's also like 1-3. That's why I say like 3 Geminis, 3-1-3, around me right now, very close. So the 3, it's really here to get their hands dirty. Let me get my hands dirty. Let me experiment with this. I want to see what is working, what is not working, and really learning through the errors, really learning, let's not do it this way. And then you can tell people, then you can teach people, So it's really like the establisher of the knowledge and truth.
Yes, I can relate. I mean, my family all kind of roll their eyes and laugh at me because there goes Maraya off on some big adventure to go try something out, left the corporate world and quit everything and did a around the world trip and headed up international health projects in the deep Nicaraguan rainforest. And I think it's definitely innate to me to take leaps and try new things. And this is so fascinating to just look back at chapters of my life in which I initiated them versus I was invited in. I think it's going to be a fascinating journal exercise to be in a place of self-reflection.
Yes, because you will really be able to see and feel really the difference of what was it when I was invited and recognized versus when I was giving unsolicited advice or I initiated something, the energy and the results will be different. It doesn't mean that it's like the world will end or it's like terrible thing to do, but the results and how it lands is different. Like, there can be a deeper impact when you are invited to the things, and you will feel so much different when you, for example, see an event. I'm like, oh, they need a midwife there. Let me message them to be a speaker there, right? Then you have to like go and like proving yourself and blah, blah, blah. But when you are invited because they saw you, you are like, wow.
Totally.
This is like dream come true. It's
totally
different. And it doesn't mean you have to be sitting on your booty. It's through your research and learning and books and like trying and exploring things that people will see you and the right people will recognize you. Like when you're aligned with your design, you will be at the right time with the right people, with the right opportunities, and you will expand exponentially.
Yeah,
Isn't it exciting?
That feels so true. I mean, even I think about when I talk with the marketing team in regard to the work that I do, it really does not come naturally for me to try to say, here's who I am and here's what I do, or to try to like do podcast pitches or thinking about like PR and publicity to go out there and say, hey, it feels misaligned.
Yeah.
Versus when I'm invited to join things, it's always a yes. Like, yeah, that's so exciting. I would love to. Yeah. And it almost doesn't even matter what it is. It's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it will be really fun for you to really reflect on it and see that, because again, like human design goes in such a depth and there's just so much, so even when I'm doing just complete foundation with my clients, we usually do 4 or 5, sessions. And this is a little bit different because if it's just you and me sitting and we are not sharing it with the world, it would be just a little bit less conversational, because like this, it's really a flowing conversation. When it's me like teaching, it's a little bit more information that I can like share, but this way we are like sharing about the other profiles too and other designs too, so I feel like human design, once you open the door, you cannot like not go through and not see that. And it's funny because then you are like, well, what is my husband? What are my kids? And you start to see a family dynamics and understanding, like my spiritual wife, she has 2 kids, 2 boys. One is projector like her and you, and one is manifesting generator, And it's such a different energy and different dynamics for those two boys. Like projectors should go to the bed before they're exhausted, before they're tired, because then it's like too late for you to have a fully restful night. But for example, manifesting generator and generator, we gotta be like exhausted. Like we gotta like completely like burn out our batteries and go to bed like exhausted so we can sleep soundly. And also projectors, they very, very, very benefit from sleeping alone. You know, I have friends or clients that like sleep without their husbands, you know, like for 2 or 3 nights a week, because that's how they rejuvenate, because you absorb all the energy, you know, and you know, in human design, like the founder of it, Rahul, he says that each type really benefits from being alone, because we're in each other auras all the time. You're in people's auras and you're going to get influenced by their centers, by their channels, by their aura, you know. So giving yourself that space to be alone, it's beautiful, and especially in a nature, so soothing, so rejuvenating, you know. So creating those spaces for you to rest, and then knowing that when you come to people, you will be recognized by the right people. So what do you feel for you it's like the most valuable or exciting to know about this, about yourself?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One is I feel validated in regard to my intuition and how much I feel people. And I really do often feel like I can be a guide, and it won't land unless I'm invited. And that feels like so just like, of course. And so often, you know, I can be at a party or in a space, and I just have a knowing of what is going on with someone or what they need. And you know, I'm not going to share that unless it's asked, and that feels very validating. And then this piece around being invited, it is interesting to look back at my life in times where I was white knuckling it, so to speak, maybe being a little bit too much in a masculine model of the feeling like I needed to be the generator to instigate and start the thing, potentially because I didn't have the patience to wait to be invited. Or the other thing that I just am curious about is this idea of the martyr and the explorer. I think sometimes because I'm always, you know, like we just got back from a 7-week trip with the family, and we were in 3 different time zones and all over. And then we come back and I'm like, okay, why aren't we being invited to stuff? And it's like, well, we've been gone, you know? And so there's also, I can feel that dichotomy of allowing myself to be more patient with being invited, because often I'm off exploring, and maybe people want to invite me into something, but there's also like, how do they know when I'm available? And I think sometimes I hear from others that I make them feel as though I'm not available because I keep myself very busy, and I have 3 children, and I'm running a successful business, and we have lots of adventures. So that's just kind of me churning in my self-reflection. And I'm curious if you have any thoughts there.
No, I feel like you were meant to be an explorer, you know, and people who are your people will try, they will come to you. They will say like, hey, Maraya, I would love to have you as a speaker. I would love to publish a book with you. You know, it's just like the right people just get to ask, even if, you know, like my grandma always says, the answer, what's the worst? Like the answer can be no, right? But at least you know. So I feel like that. And also just, I feel like people knowing what are your like passions, you know, like then they will know what they can invite you to. So it's just like really just like sharing, you know, sharing your adventures when it feels good.
Women's circles, yoni steams. Going to get a massage. Definitely like, oh my gosh, when I'm invited, you know, and then I go, how fascinating. I started women's circles for 10 years because I of course I would love to be invited to a women's circle, but I wonder if maybe I was just not patient enough.
Also, did anyone ever ask you about like a woman's circles, or was it like completely your idea from your head and you just started it? Or were there women around you that you were like, wow, like this would really benefit them? Like they were asking you like, hey, have you ever, done a circle? Or, it doesn't have to be like, sometimes, with the projectors and the invitation, it can be a little bit confusing because they're like, I don't want to be sitting here and like do nothing. It's really like entertaining yourself with exploring, right? It's not doing nothing, but it's also like being invited, like, oh, like I would love to be like attending, like a circles, or I think like circles are amazing and we don't have any here in town, or, there are no virtual. So you can see that as an invitation because you're already recognized, right, by working with women. So it can be a little delicate,
Okay. That makes more sense. So in that scenario, yes, there was the invitation.
Yes.
And then I tend to be the person that can put it together and make it happen and get the ball rolling. So that's not necessarily, I know there's no black and white here, but once the invitation has happened, then it's almost like we can play different hats. I can become the generator and get the ball rolling and make things happen as long as
you will never be a generator. You will never be a manifestor. You cannot change the hats. You can be born a projector. What happens is when you're around other people, you will get influenced by them. So if you're with me, you can have more energy, and then you will be influenced by my channels and my centers. So yes, you can be influenced. You are never going to change who you are. You are projector. You're meant to be projector. You're meant to be invited. So there is like with human design, there is not hard like changing. Like in the morning, I'm projector. In the afternoon, I'm manifestor because I will go and initiate. It doesn't change this way. You will be influenced by people you're around, the energies you're around, but there's really no hard changing,
So fascinating. I want to learn more.
I know. It's really, really beautiful. I also believe I have like a PDF from my past mentor, like about projectors. So I will send it to you so you can like, sit with that and read, because I know that now you're like, okay, I want to learn more and I want to investigate more and I want to research more. So I will find it and I'll send that to you so you can read that. And, human design, it's experiment. You're here to experiment it. It's not, like you said, it's not black and white. You get to experiment it. Your human design experiment will be different from anyone else human design experiment. So play with it. Like we came here to play and explore. So play with it and let me know how it feels, how it goes, and how it's unfolding for you. And I think that there will be a lot of projectors and other designs who are listening to this, who are going to be curious and really like spark, their interest. So they can always look, like I said, on free human design chart. Like I use the jovianarchive.com because it's free. And then, you can always get your reading. I do readings. I don't offer them anywhere because it's just, if I do readings, for me, that's like paying it forward because I love doing that. But it's not like foundation cornerstone of what I'm doing. It's just a little one of the modalities that I'm using in my business, because anyone who comes into my life, I want to know, because if you are a reflector, I will treat you differently than projector. And it doesn't mean that I'm, being fake, but it's because I'm being really respectful of what do you need and how you're going to feel seen and heard and respected, So, with you projector, I will do open-ended question. With manifestor, I will just inform them. With my husband, manifesting generator, I will ask him yes and no questions. And then I will wait for him to ride the emotional wave to see where he is at and when he will like arrive, when it feels right, So it's beautiful, Maraya. And I feel like we just planted a seed and keep it posted what else it's unfolding for you.
It's so fascinating. And of course I'm thinking, I want to bring you into the group, into my master class, into my mastermind, my group program. I think it'd be so lovely to have you come in and have this conversation with all the women. I think it would add a lot of value. And of course, there's a part of me that's bummed that our first episode ended up getting deleted, but I also trust that it's divine. So with a couple minutes left, it's 11:11.
Yeah.
I wondered if you want to just say a little bit about who you are in the world. I mean, obviously, this was going to be my personal session to have a human design read. And I'm like, all right, I'll just put my stuff out in the world and here we go. But for those that are listening, do you want to say it all about what it is that you do and how they reach out to you if they want to lean in?
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Yes, I would love to share. So I'm an alignment coach for women. I work exclusively with women. And alignment coach for me, it means that I support women to align with their purpose, to be living in their purpose, who they really came here to be, and to live abundantly, really unapologetically, abundantly. I do it through my one-on-one mentorship. We just finished Soulful Success Experience Online, published our book, which became Amazon bestseller. So I'm really thankful for that.
Yay, and congratulations.
Thank you. And doing retreats and masterminds. I personally absolutely thrive and love doing one-on-one because, again, in human design, I'm a single definition. I love one-on-one. You're split definition. You're better with groups and people around you. So it's also fun to know that because as a split definition, like other people's energies like fulfill you. I'm like, I'm good by myself. I don't need to go anywhere. I'm like happy. So to connect with me, I feel like the best place really it's Instagram. That's, where I am, or my website, Petia Kolibova, and Maraya will write it down for you because nobody can spell my name. So those are like two places, because on my website, you can find everything. You can find what events we're hosting, my Instagram, my podcast, Unapologetically Abundant. That's where I am, and that's where I'm going.
Awesome. And the landscapers just started outside. So with that,
perfect timing.
I'm very grateful. I'm grateful for this time. I'm also grateful for all of the interactions that we've had and how just divine they've been, from that first moment that I was attracted to your dog at the airport in Puerto Rico, and then the VIP lounge at that event. And how fascinating that even when you were in a time of transition for yourself, I offered my phone number and you used it and you invited me in.
Yeah.
And so thank you for inviting me in and giving me the opportunity to be there to hold space for you. It's so nourishing to be able to be invited and really be in my power and hold space for individuals in the way that I know that I'm destined to. So thank you.
For the people who recognize you. Thank you, Maraya. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me share my gifts. And thank you for the way you are showing up in the world. It really makes a difference. So thank you.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Until next time, Petia, see you over in Voxer. And I look forward to when we get to be together and give each other a big hug. I know it will happen.
Thank you so much. You have a great day, Maraya. I appreciate it.
Aloha.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Woman's Vibrancy Code. Connect with us and take the first step to transforming your energy, hormones, and libido at thewomensvibrancycode.com. Cheers to your zest and vitality. Make sure to follow for weekly power-packed value.